Imagine a frozen French forest in January 1945, snow on the ground, mist in the trees, and a 20-year-old American lieutenant, who looks like he should still be in high school, staring down a wave of German tanks and infantry. His company is falling back. The field in front of him is about to be swallowed by steel and fire. And instead of running, he climbs alone onto a burning tank destroyer, grabs its .50 caliber machine gun, and starts shooting at everything that moves while calling artillery down on his own position. If that sounds like the setup for an over-the-top war movie, you have to remember this. The man doing it was 5'5", weighed maybe 110 pounds, and hated being called a hero. His name was Audie Murphy, and what he did near a place called Holtzwihr is often called the most insane single act of bravery in World War II. To understand how he got there, you have to rewind. Murphy grew up dirt poor in Texas, one of 12 children. His father walked out on the family, so Audie dropped out of school in the 5th grade to pick cotton and hunt for food. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, he tried to enlist. The Marines and paratroopers both turned him down, too small, too young. The Army finally let him in, almost as a favor. On paper, he was the last guy you'd cast as a war hero. In combat, he became something else entirely. Sicily, Salerno, Anzio, Southern France, battle after battle, he volunteered for the most dangerous jobs, led patrols, and dragged wounded men out from under fire. By 1945, he'd already earned multiple decorations for valor. His fellow soldiers called him that crazy little Texan with a mix of awe and concern. Murphy didn't talk about luck. He talked about not letting his friends down. That's the mindset he carried into the Colmar pocket in eastern France. In late January, his company was holding a thin line near the town of Holtzwihr. The weather was vicious. Everyone knew the Germans were planning a counterattack. The answer came on January 26th, out of the mist. German tanks and infantry emerged, far more than the battered American company could stop. Almost immediately, 2 U.S. tank destroyers were hit. One was knocked out. The other caught fire. The German advance was gathering momentum. If they broke through, they could roll up the whole American flank. Murphy made a choice that was, on paper, insane. He told his men to pull back to the woods. He would stay forward and direct artillery. Alone, he climbed onto the wreck of the burning M10 tank destroyer. With flames licking around it and ammunition cooking off inside, he grabbed the .50 caliber machine gun, swung it toward the advancing line, and opened fire. From the German perspective, this must have been surreal. One man, silhouetted on a burning vehicle, hammering away with a heavy machine gun as shells burst all around him. But this wasn't just bravado. Murphy had called in artillery strikes on his radio, adjusting the rounds closer and closer to his own position. When the gunners asked how close he wanted it, he reportedly snapped, "Just hit my coordinates. We'll sort it out." In other words, if you have to shell me to stop them, do it. For nearly an hour, he held that position. He shot at infantry, at gun crews, at anything that threatened his men. At one point, enemy soldiers got within a few dozen yards. He kept firing. The tank destroyer shook from explosions. Shrapnel ripped into his leg. He stayed on the gun. All the while he was calmly talking on the radio, walking the barrage onto the Germans. Between the relentless machine gun fire and the artillery raining down, the German attack stalled, then broke. When he finally ran out of ammunition, Murphy climbed down and limped back to his men. Then, bleeding and exhausted, he organized a counterattack, retaking the very ground they'd started from. The German offensive in that sector had been stopped, largely because one undersized lieutenant refused to leave. Later, his Medal of Honor citation would talk about indomitable courage. Those polished words don't quite capture what other soldiers saw. One quiet, polite guy they all knew stepping into a suicidal role and just refusing to die. Was it insane? By any normal standard, yes. But Murphy rejected the label of hero. He always said he was more scared than brave. The difference is, when fear and duty collided, he chose duty and held on longer than most people can imagine. After the war, Hollywood turned Murphy into a movie star. He even played himself in the film To Hell and Back. Audiences saw a tidy, scripted version of what he'd done. What they didn't see was the toll it took. The nightmares, the insomnia, the survivor's guilt. The bravery didn't end when the shooting stopped. It followed him home, a battle he fought for the rest of his life. And that might be the real measure of it all. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's what you do while fear is clawing at you. On that frozen battlefield, Audie Murphy chose to stand on top of the fire instead of running from it, reminding us how much history can turn on one person's decision in one impossible moment to stay. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as incredible as we did, make sure to like and subscribe for more.